16 years old. A fastball that touches the triple digits. Excellent command and off speed. A $2 million contract. But he hasn't thrown a pitch since 2016. What happened to Anderson Espinoza? Hi guys, Brett here with Baseball Prospect Analysis, and today we're going to talk about Anderson Espinoza, a right-handed pitching prospect out of Caracas, Venezuela, who was only 16 years old when he got signed. So, let's get into it. Anderson Espinoza was an international prospect of Caracas, Venezuela in the 2014 class. He's only 16 years old. He's 6 foot tall with a wiry figure. He possessed ultra-athletic and explosive mechanics, but kept them under control and consistent. Add on to that, he had an advanced 3-pitch mix, especially for his age. His fastball would sit in the low 90s, topping 94-95. An exceptional changeup that mimics his fastball, but produces a late, substantial sinking action. This became his highest graded pitch among scouts. A traditional 12-6 curveball that had flashes of plus potential, but he would struggle to locate it at times when he did not throw it to the glove side. Espinoza was a talent that scouts had rarely, if ever, seen. A young projectable pitcher with 3 potential plus pitches with elite command. Many scouts noted he didn't just fill up the zone, but he nailed the catcher's target a high percentage of that time, which for a 16-year-old throwing 90 plus was unheard of. The Red Sox saw all this potential and knew they had to go all in to acquire him. In July of 2014, Boston signed the 16-year-old to a $1.8 million contract. This also included $200,000 towards a future college education. This made his total contract worth $2 million, which is only $35,000 less than 2014's number 20 overall pick. So essentially, Boston valued Espinoza the same as a first-round draft pick, which is saying a lot for a 16-year-old. The Red Sox projected he was very likely to add velocity in the next couple years due to his frame and age, but no one, including Espinoza himself, believed he would gain as much as he did. Only 1 year later, Espinoza was touching 99 regularly and hitting triple digits from time to time. Anderson stated, "When I was in my first spring training games, I threw 96, and I had never done it. That was surprising." Then, shortly after, in his third game against the Yankees, he popped a 99 on the gun, saying, "Wow, I can't believe it." Not only was this teenager throwing hard, but he was dominant on the mound immediately. In 2015, he started in the Dominican Summer League. He only lasted 4 starts there, posting a 1.2 ERA over 15 innings with 21 strikeouts and only 3 walks. The Red Sox realized he was ready for a promotion already. They moved him to the States to the rookie Gulf Coast League. Clearly, this did not faze the young talent, as he continued to overmatch his new competition. He finished his rookie league campaign with a .68 ERA in 10 starts, compiling 40 strikeouts and 9 walks in 40 innings of action. 1 pro season in the books, and not only were his stats impressive, but the reviews from his peers were quite exceptional. Boston pitching coordinator Ralph Trueall, who has spent 32 years of his life working with the minor leagues, praised Espinoza, saying, "To draw a comparison at that age, I haven't seen anyone like that. I've seen guys with easy arm action, but not creating velocity like he does. He's a special pitcher." Tom Kochman, who coached Anderson in the GCL, has been managing teams for 35 years, had rarely seen any 17-year-olds like him, describing him as a cross between Pedro Martinez and a young Francisco Rodriguez. It's like he's got ice in his veins. He's just calm, cool, collected, and if you don't look at the radar readings, it just doesn't look like he's throwing 95, 96, 97. With the dazzling numbers and reviews, the Sox were forced to promote the young star again, sending him to Single-A Greenville, where the competition was more than 1 year older than him on average. Anderson was developing at an elite pace, but not one completely unheard of. John Lester and Clay Buchholz arrived in the bigs by 22, and since 2000, 3 Boston pitchers, Michael Bowden, Craig Hansen, and Abe Alvarez, reached the show by age 21. Still, these pitchers did not progress initially as fast as young Espinoza, who is now in the 4th of 7 stages in the minor league system. Jumping to 2016, Espinoza opened with Single-A Greenville and was the youngest player starting in a full A season. He would make 17 starts, finishing 5-8 with a 4.38 ERA. Over 76 innings pitched, he struck out 72 and walked only 27. Then, on July 14th, the Red Sox chose to trade Espinoza for left-hander Drew Pomeranz, who had an all-star season posting a 2.47 ERA and a 10.1 strikeouts per 9. Oddly enough, in 2019, Drew would find his way back to San Diego via free agency and has been there ever since. Anderson would finish the season with Fort Wayne, a low-A affiliate of the Padres, making 8 appearances. In all, he would make 25 appearances, 108 in the third innings, and a 4.49 ERA with 100 strikeouts and 35 walks. For an 18-year-old in his first full-season league, split between 2 teams, this was a fairly solid result. The rankings he received reflected that, with the number 21 overall from Baseball America, number 25 with MLB Pipeline, and number 24 with Baseball Prospectus. The future was still bright, and he was still well above schedule development-wise compared to his peers. Approaching the 2017 season, Anderson would suffer from forearm tightness in early April. Initially, he tried to work through it. That is until May when it became worse. The Padres shut him down and decided he better get a full diagnosis. Unfortunately, this led to him getting Tommy John surgery in August of that year. And as any prospect with the potential Espinoza had, the Padres made sure to make the recovery process slow, controlled, and precise. The plan was to have him back in the mound in late April, early May of 2019 on a strict pitch count and progress from there. He was doing great and putting in a ton of work and reportedly on track for his May debut. Then everyone's worst nightmare came true. The newly recovered prospect suffered from a severe surgery complication, which was determined to be a ruptured graft. Grafting is when a surgeon removes tissue from one part of the body to another without bringing its own supply of blood with it. In Anderson's case, his graft was his new UCL, which would have been a tendon taken from his forearm or hamstring. These are the palmaris longus and hamstring tendon. So essentially his new tendon failed on him, causing the surgery to be a complete failure in the end. So what now? What is the answer to this crazy predicament? Tommy John surgery again, of course. Tommy John's the answer to all arm injuries. It's a well-known fact. All joking aside, really that's the only thing they could do at that point, and that's tragic. Imagine going through all the mental and physical stress of UCL reconstruction just to have your new arm fail on you only weeks before your comeback debut. For me, that would be straight up demoralizing. But despite the second mountain being placed in his path, Anderson handled it as well as anyone could. General Manager AJ Preller said, "He's put in a ton of time and effort. He put a lot of work into it, and obviously having to redo surgery and potentially miss another year, he's handled it as good as you can. I'm proud of him. He's staying positive, he knows he's got a long road in front of him, and he's going to work hard at it again. We've had a lot of conversations explaining the belief we have in him. It's not an easy process." After another long and extensive rehab process, Espinoza was preparing to come back in mid-2020 as a possible reliever before drifting back into the starter territory. But of course, the 2020 minor league season was canceled. But maybe for Anderson, this was a good thing. It would give him even more time to prep, and he would be starting this season at the same time everyone else was. Going into 2021, Anderson was approaching his third big league camp. He had notably improved his secondary pitches compared to previous bullpens that year and was ready to go. But manager Jace Tingler made it clear he wants everyone to keep it in perspective. He stated the most important thing is we want to get him into games. Obviously, the lack of innings and game reps over the last couple years, at some point, he's going to need that. We want to get him into some of these spring training games, and we'll go from there. On Thursday, March 18th, 2021, Anderson climbed the hill to throw his first in-game pitches since 2016. Still only 23 years old, the right-hander turned in a scoreless inning against Athletics. While it was only one inning pitched, it certainly was a great sight to see. We can all only hope we see more of it in the future. Since then, Anderson has remained on the Padres' 40-man roster, but was optioned to San Antonio Missions, Padres' AA affiliate. He hasn't thrown a pitch since spring training, but the Missions don't start their season until May 4th, so I'd imagine we will see some action there in the near future as long as he remains healthy. Until then, that's all we have on him. So now, let's get into possible future outcomes and where I see him ending this year. First, I gotta say, the kid has worked through some serious detours to get where he is now, and it's gonna take some time before we potentially see a polished prospect in Anderson. Nevertheless, his motivation and perseverance to keep pushing forward is astonishing. I personally think he'll spend the majority of 2021 in AA, starting as a bullpen guy and transitioning back into his original starting role. However, I would not be surprised if the Padres bring him up for 1 or 2 innings at the end of the year to get a feel for the MLB environment. So I'm putting an MLB debut date of 2021 or 2022, but I don't think he'll have an established position on their roster until late 2022 or early 2023. If he is able to display his 2015-2016 arsenal and continue to grow from there, it is by no means a long shot to expect him as a future MLB starter. Best case scenario is he does this and becomes a generational talent that we all hoped he'd become. Another possible outcome is that his arm isn't able to handle the long outings as a starter and he remains a bullpen piece. He still arrives by 2023 after 1 or 2 outings in 2022 and has a solid career as a starter. Worst case scenario is he struggles with arm health and just can't complete a healthy season, causing him to be traded around a lot until his career ultimately ends. Whatever the case, I know the Padres are going to do whatever they can to help him become successful. They have a lot invested in him, and he's only 23, so there's still some time before it becomes a desperate situation. I personally hope he's able to become a starter at the MLB level, but I sincerely hope they don't rush it. He's been through a lot already, and conditioning the arm to handle those full starts is more important than immediate inning-eating results. I fear that if the process going forward becomes too rushed, another injury may occur, which is when the real possibility of a busted career becomes more and more prevalent. But until then, let's see what he's got in store for us this year and go from there. And that's all for today, guys. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to thank you for sticking around and please consider subscribing. Every week I'll be posting a new video, and by hitting that subscribe button, it allows you to be notified when they're posted. Lastly, I'd like to thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. It's so cool to think I can make content I'm passionate about and that you guys enjoy. So have a great rest of your day and go enjoy some spring baseball.